All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about crypto in 2026. And folks, it is a wild ride. The old playbook, it's been thrown out the window. Right now, there's a massive battle raging over what comes next. You see, for more than a decade, the crypto market basically danced to this one really predictable beat. We all called it the 4-year cycle. It was like clockwork. You'd get these huge, explosive rallies, and then, bam, these brutal crashes. And it was all tied to Bitcoin's halving events, which, as you know, cuts the supply of new coins right in half. And this thing was, I mean, it was incredibly reliable. Every single time after having a massive bull market would kick off, sending prices to just insane new highs. But then, sure enough, it was followed by a vicious bear market. We're talking corrections that would just wipe out, up to 85% of the value. Brutal. But what if that rhythm is just broken? Because as we're looking at things here in early 2026, all the signs are pointing to one thing: that metronome has stopped ticking. That old rulebook that pretty much governed a whole decade of crypto investing, it might be completely useless now. So, what happened? Well, it looks like two absolutely massive, game-changing forces have just slammed into this cycle, and they have fundamentally rewritten the rules of the crypto markets forever. Okay, first up, the money. The sheer scale of cash pouring into this space it's just staggering. I mean, this isn't some niche retail-driven hobby anymore. No way. This is now a full-blown institutional asset class, and it's being dominated by the biggest players on Wall Street. And the speed of this shift has been just mind-blowing. The launch and, let's be honest, the wild success of the spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, well, that just opened the floodgates. By the end of last year, the total assets in these products ballooned to over $172 billion. Think about that. And then there's the second great disruption. What is it? Politics. Yeah, you heard that right. For the very first time in history, the US government, the most powerful government in the world, has officially and publicly thrown its weight behind digital assets. What did that look like? Well, the second Trump administration really brought a tidal wave of pro-crypto policies. We're talking about establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve with seized assets, signing the Genius Act to finally regulate stablecoins, and even appointing the very first crypto czar to guide the whole national policy. A huge shift. Okay, so you've got all this institutional money, you've got massive political support, so crypto must be absolutely flying, right? Well, it's not quite that simple. Actually, a lot of very serious analysts believe a painful downturn isn't just on the horizon. They think it's already here. And you just have to look at the end of 2025. It was absolutely brutal. Bitcoin's price just fell off a cliff. It plummeted over 30% from its peak, and that wiped out more than $1.2 trillion in market value, all in just 6 short weeks. I mean, that looks and smells like a classic end-of-cycle crash, doesn't it? So the whole argument for a bear market, it really boils down to a few key risks. First, you've got these persistent fears of a global recession. Then there's the looming threat that central banks might have to tighten up liquidity if inflation stays sticky. On top of that, the technical charts are screaming that a much longer correction is due. And of course, investor sentiment has totally tanked, with the fear and greed index stuck in fear territory. So yeah, all of this has led a lot of people to believe we're in for a long, grinding bear market. But, and this is what's so fascinating, there's an incredibly powerful counter-argument. And this quote from Fidelity's Chris Kuiper just captures it perfectly. The idea is that even with all this new money, we've barely even scratched the surface of what's possible. This brings us to the other side of the coin, the bull case, the people who are incredibly optimistic. Despite that nasty crash we just saw, they argue we are on the verge of something new, a supercycle. What's that? It's a sustained period of growth that's totally unlike anything we've ever seen before, completely disconnected from that old 4-year rhythm. And let me tell you, the forecasts are, well, they're ambitious. We're seeing some analysts call for Bitcoin to hit as high as $170,000 this year. The idea is that the forces driving the market now completely dwarf anything that powered the old 4-year cycle. So where does this optimism come from? Well, the bullish case really starts with that steady, constant drumbeat of institutional money. Just look at the massive inflows into funds like BlackRock's. This isn't like the old days with a retail frenzy. This demand is different. It's structural, it's persistent, and it's coming from the big players: pension funds, financial advisors, even sovereign wealth funds. And on top of that, the bigger economic picture actually looks pretty supportive. Most experts expect central banks to start cutting interest rates, which makes assets like crypto way more attractive. Plus, the upcoming midterm elections could mean even more economic stimulus is on the way. And remember that US Bitcoin reserve? That alone could spark a kind of global arms race for nations to get their hands on digital assets.
But this whole thing goes way beyond just buying and selling crypto. This is about the very plumbing of the entire financial system getting a massive upgrade. Think about it. Stocks, bonds, government treasuries, all of them being issued and traded as digital tokens on blockchains. That's a fundamental shift.
Okay, so this brings us to the most crucial point, really. What we're witnessing is a massive tug of war. You've got these two powerful, completely opposing stories fighting for control of where the market goes from here. And the divide is crystal clear, right? On one side, you have the bears. They're pointing to recession risk, tighter money, and those old historical chart patterns. But on the other side, you have the bulls. They see a brand new world, a new paradigm that's being driven by all this institutional adoption and a super favorable political climate. So, it's pretty obvious that 2026 isn't a simple bull or bear market. It's something much bigger. It's a historic transition year. This is the year where crypto finally graduates from being a niche, speculative little asset into a permanent, totally integrated part of the global financial system. The old cycle, it's dead. But whatever comes next is still being forged right before our eyes. Which, of course, brings us to the ultimate question. With all these incredibly powerful forces pulling in opposite directions, could 2026 be the year that defies all of crypto history and becomes a true supercycle year? What's your take? Are you a bull or a bear right now? Let us know in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to subscribe for more explainers just like this one.